Have you ever just stopped and wondered what's buried right beneath your feet? I mean, we spend so much time looking up at the sky for answers, but what if humanity's greatest mysteries aren't out there in the stars? What if they're deep down, hidden in the dark? Today, we are digging deep into some of humanity's most incredible and baffling underground worlds.
You know, throughout history, ancient cultures have gone to absolutely incredible lengths to build entire worlds underground. And we're not just talking about caves, these were full-blown cities, gateways to the cosmos, and places of profound mystery. It almost seems like it's a primal human instinct. When you're faced with danger or maybe something divine, you dig. So, let's find out what secrets our ancestors were trying to bury, or maybe what they were trying to find.
All right, our journey kicks off in modern-day Turkey, with a discovery so wild it honestly sounds like something straight out of a fantasy novel. In a region called Cappadocia, a whole hidden world was just waiting, for centuries, right behind a basement wall.
Okay, just picture this. You're doing some renovations at home, right? You knock down a wall in your basement, and instead of hitting foundation, you find a dark tunnel. A tunnel that just keeps going and descending deeper and deeper into the earth. Well, that is exactly what happened to one guy. He'd literally stumbled upon a lost city. The sheer scale of this place, which we now call Derinkuyu, is what's truly mind-blowing. Archaeologists figure this underground city could house up to 20,000 people. 20,000! Along with all their livestock and food supplies, we're talking about a small metropolis, completely invisible to the world above.
So just how ambitious was this? Well, Derinkuyu plunges about 280 feet into the earth. To put that in perspective, that's like taking a modern skyscraper and just flipping it upside down. And the craziest part? All of it was carved out of soft volcanic rock, with nothing but hand tools.
And look, this wasn't just some big pit in the ground. It was a complex, multi-story labyrinth. So far, they've uncovered at least 18 distinct levels, all connected by this maze of tunnels and staircases. And get this, archaeologists think there might be even deeper levels they haven't even found yet.
So one thing is absolutely clear. Derinkuyu was not some temporary bomb shelter. It was a meticulously engineered city built for the long haul. They had these brilliant ventilation shafts that still work today, wells for a constant supply of water, and these massive half-ton stone doors they could roll into place to seal off entrances. They even had designated areas for living, for worship, and yes, for making wine.
So the obvious theory, right, is that it was a huge shelter, a place for people to vanish when invaders came through the region. And that makes total sense. But it doesn't quite explain everything. I mean, why build chapels and wineries? You don't do that if you're only planning to stay for a little while. These things suggest a real, thriving, permanent community, a culture that planned to live underground, not just hide there. But protection is only one reason people dig. Let's hop over to a totally new continent and a completely different motivation for going underground. What if you weren't trying to hide from the world, but were actually trying to connect with a different one? Down in Mexico, beneath the massive pyramids of Teotihuacan, tunnels were built not for safety, but for ceremony.
So back in 2003, some heavy rains opened up a sinkhole near one of the main pyramids. An archaeologist lowered himself inside, and what he found was an entrance that had been intentionally blocked with huge boulders. For nearly 2,000 years, whatever was in there was meant to stay hidden, completely sealed off from the world.
And what they found inside was just wow. At the very end of this tunnel, in these sealed-off chambers, they found large quantities of liquid mercury. Now, this is an incredibly rare and toxic substance. The best theory we have is that the shimmering, reflective liquid was meant to represent a sacred river or a lake of the underworld, a kind of portal between the world of the living and the world of the gods.
And if you think that's wild, it gets even better. The builders had painstakingly crushed up pyrite, fool's gold, and dusted the walls and the ceiling of the tunnel with it. So in the flickering light of torches, the entire tunnel would have sparkled. It would have created this perfect illusion of a glittering, star-filled night sky. They weren't just digging a tunnel, they were building their own private universe underground.
And this contrast really gets to the heart of it all. Derinkuyu was for the body. It was a practical refuge designed for physical survival. Teotihuacan, on the other hand, that was for the soul. It was a spiritual gateway built for cosmic connection. One was meant to be used whenever it was needed. The other was meant to be sealed forever.
Okay,
So we've seen survival and we've seen spirituality. Now let's look at two final sites that push the mystery even further. In Peru, we'll find tunnels designed to manipulate the mind itself, and then, in China, we find a colossal underground complex that has no history at all.
All right, let's head to Peru, to a place called Chavin de Huantar. Here, archaeologists found tunnels that served a truly unique purpose. They weren't for living, they weren't for offerings, they were actually engineered to be disorienting labyrinths. By manipulating sound and light, basically creating sensory deprivation, the goal was probably to induce altered states of consciousness. It was a journey not through the earth, but through the mind itself.
And that brings us to what might be the greatest riddle of them all. Back in 1992, a group of farmers in China decided to drain a local pond. But as the water level dropped, they realized this wasn't a pond. It was the flooded entrance to a massive man-made cave. And it wasn't the only one.
The scale here is it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. An estimated 1 million cubic meters of stone was excavated by hand to create this complex now known as the Longyou Caves. This would be a mega project even with our modern technology today.
And this is the absolute core of the mystery. Ancient China was one of the most meticulous record-keeping civilizations in history. They wrote everything down, and yet there is not a single text, not one historical document that mentions the construction of this colossal undertaking. It's as if an entire civilization carved out a subterranean world and then just vanished without a trace.
So, from a survivalist city in Turkey to a cosmic map in Mexico and a silent, baffling mystery in China, it's pretty clear that ancient people didn't just dig, they created these profound worlds underground for very, very different reasons.
So when you boil it all down, we've seen that humanity has tunneled deep into the earth for protection, to build sanctuaries from a dangerous world. They've dug to create sacred spaces for rituals, portals to other realms. They've even engineered tunnels to alter human perception itself. And sometimes, like with the Longyou Caves, they did it for reasons that are, for now anyway, completely lost to us, a total mystery.
These incredible sites prove that the ground beneath us is like a library of forgotten stories. They show this universal human impulse to go down into the darkness, whether it's for safety, for faith, or for reasons we can't even begin to fathom. It really leaves you wondering, what other worlds are still down there, holding secrets we aren't yet meant to understand?